I told you it's like Frankenstein. He's like must catch Buddha, catch now.
You guys are always giving away all the best stuff. I mean, since we're live now, you could maybe.
Oh, my bad.
Do it when people.
Don't worry about it. We don't talk about anything.
I mean, DK Metcalf, greatest play I've seen in a long time. If he
all right, save that thought on the backside. He's gonna drop the music. All right. Well, Sam wanted to start the show talking about DK Metcalf's chase down last night on Sunday Night Football. This dude was like 15 yards behind the guy, and he ran sideways.
Yeah, and he went after a guy that's a DB that's a really good Pro Bowler DB that's been playing out of his mind this year. But the thing about the play that amazes me is DK Metcalf, you look at he ended up only, I think, with like 2 catches, and he had, in fantasy regard, but only like 4 points in a PPR situation. And here's the deal. As soon as the play happened, I mean, he was like you said, 15 yards behind him, and he just went Terminator mode. Like he was like, I mean, he just walked him down and didn't give up on a play. And then you never think that it's going to work out as well as it does, but they went for it on, they didn't get no points out of the situation. No. They should have won the game. Russell Wilson picked a bad game to have 3 interceptions.
The little lollipop passes he always throwing came back to home.
I bet DK was pissed off. He had all that extra energy from that horrible pass, Russell Wilson.
Because that's
hold on. Speaking of pro football, Gary.
This not a Gary segment. How about him, Gary? Here we go.
How about him? Y'all drove all the way to DC to kick a field goal?
Yeah, I think I heard that line somewhere else yesterday too. They have quit on the coach. They've been so spoiled in Dallas by the owner, not by winning, but by the owner. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for somebody to bail them out, and you have to bail yourself out.
Are you a Cowboys fan still? Are you still a fan?
Oh, I'll always be a fan.
Well, you wearing Carolina gear. It looks like you just bandwagon, like you wear Dallas stuff.
Exactly. Wait a minute now. I'm a graduate of Carolina.
Where's that Dallas stuff?
That's why you're so smart. Both you and Langston got that college degree like Jupiter, that Chapel Hill degree. That's big time.
Man, that thing's not easy to get either.
No, it ain't.
And I even took African American studies, and it was a real class.
Oh yeah,
they only had 2 of those classes when Langston and I were there, not a whole department.
No, it was hard too. But I'll tell you what.
You take basket weaving?
No, didn't take basket weaving. Gary, I'm gonna let you talk about something good. How about your Tar Heels beating NC State on Saturday?
I was impressed. They played a lot better. Naturally, State was down a quarterback, and anytime you lose your quarterback and then you start rotating quarterbacks, it's difficult to have some success. We found our identity. We're a running football team. I mean, we spread out the run. Those backs are awesome. The tackling was a little bit better. But I was very pleased with the effort. It's on to the next one.
Dale, you and Sam were at the game. What'd you think?
If we could defend the edge, maybe we could play. We had a hard time with the edge in that game. And gosh, when you let a quarterback run on you like that, that's supposed to be, your prototype pocket quarterback as far as the way he rambles back there. But boy, he just ran all over State Saturday. It was not. I didn't have a fun day.
Yeah. When I saw that video that NC State put out, and they asked the question, "What's a ram to a wolf?" You saw that, Kenzie?
Oh yeah, there was Sam Howell kind of clapped back at that afterwards. I don't remember the words, but if you're going to talk trash, you got to back it up or post that after the game after you win. But to start with that and then lose that badge, just it's rough.
Well, Sam, I wanted to ask you. You were at the game, Sam. Carolina's now won 41-10 and 48-21 the last couple of years. Carolina's next two recruiting classes ranked 13th in the nation. State is 43 and 28. Is this rivalry becoming a not so great rivalry really fast?
No, the rivalry won't go away, I don't think, at all. I think Carolina always wants to beat NC State and vice versa. Maybe NC State wants to beat Carolina a little bit more because of the tide of Mac Brown. He's been recruiting at the top 5 level the last couple of years, and it's showing right now. I think that if NC State was at full capacity, they had their quarterback, it could have been a lot tighter game, and I think the defense plays more inspired when it's a tighter game. Like, let's don't forget, in the end, right before the half, they're going down to score to tie the game, and they throw not a touchdown. It hits the guy in the hands. It was an easy catch, and it pops up, and you know, kudos to Carolina. They made the interception, but that was a 14-point swing. That was a huge swing, and it kind of opened up the floodgates for the second half, and the team didn't want to play inspired anymore, and I think that's it. But I think Dave Dorien does an amazing job behind the scenes with the weight room. I think he has 2-star, 3-star type kids. And if you look at the NFL right now, a lot of his offensive linemen, they're guys that like play 10 years. I feel like they're guys that play for, you know, they got that. What's the guard's name that plays for New England Patriots? I don't know if he's still there, but they had a guy that was like a non-draft guy or someone that was drafted in like the 5th round. It's amazing. They do a great job in the weight room. So I don't think the rivalry's gone. It's been one-sided the last 2 years, no doubt.
Mr. Ross, who is an NC State fan, wanted to jump in. And we should note that State won 9 of the previous 12 games before this little 2-year run for Carolina. What you got there?
Right. Just the comment I was going to make is during that run, and actually back during the Sheridan years as well, when State was doing very well, Carolina still always had better recruiting classes. So that's one battle for whatever reason Carolina has, I think, consistently won or been better at in most years is that recruiting area. So I don't know that them having a better recruiting class is going to change the point of the rivalry, or potentially not the outcome of the games in the future. But it certainly does help when you have good talent coming in. But coaching, I think in the past, the way we put it was Carolina got the players, but we coached our players better because we had lesser talent but could beat them. So the problem is now Mac Brown is, and some of that was back when Mac Brown first played.
Mac couldn't beat Sheridan. Mac could not beat Sheridan.
No, and so it's a different. It's totally different. But I just thought that might be a good point to keep in mind, is that
it goes in cycles.
It goes in cycles, and coaching can overcome the recruiting. But if you get if they get better and better and better at recruits, you know, then you get up there like a Clemson every year, or an Alabama, then it becomes very difficult to out-coach that talent.
We're gonna talk about Clemson and Alabama a little bit later on the Coast versus Coast deal. I'm gonna let you go back in the back room a little bit. I want to ask Grice about spring practice. How's it going? Well, not spring practice, but fall workouts. Getting ready for spring. Yeah. How's it going over at Hopewell? I saw you put out some really encouraging tweets and talking about the player turnout at Hopewell, how you guys are turning the corner.
Yeah, no, it's been great to start. I mean, I think, you know, between our varsity and JV, you know, we kind of reached that 80 kid mark, which I don't think has been seen at Hopewell for a while. But, you know, the bigger thing is just, you know, and it's funny, you know, you call it spring workout. I think if we've kind of had that mentality of shifting the calendar, and everyone, you know, has been so dramatic about, hey, like, you know, we're starting so late, you know, we should have started a lot sooner. It's like, no, this is spring ball pretty much. If you go back, this is, you know, between now and February, it's kind of that same time frame between April and August. And that's kind of the mindset we have with our kids, to say, hey, this is a normal off season. I know it's crazy, but let's get in here and treat this thing like it's spring ball. Let's get our bodies ready and try to get ready to play football in February.
Sam, I want you to comment on that too, but I want to drop a couple comments we got. Gary, here's a comment. And they say,
hey, I can't say anything till we play them again.
Go Nears.
Hey, we offered them a chance to play us in that 11th game, and they turned it down. So that's all I'm saying.
We
were
Sam,
gonna write them a
about,
check as big as they wanted, but they turned it down. So.
Sam, tell me about the workouts over West Charlotte.
Well, we don't have 80 because we're not allowed to have 80. At one time.
All right, we'll keep getting in trouble trying to insinuate stuff. Okay, we talk about this.
I just let you know. Yeah, we can only have 50, including the coaches on the field. But we only have one field. We don't have multiple practice fields, but we got a nice little turf field. Love it. Don't have to worry about the lines. But I love the kids that are coming out right now. Like, I'm inspired to be at West Charlotte. It's exciting. The kids are really grasping what we're trying to do. Their expectations are changing, and they understand that we're not going to accept just good. We got to be great and doing the little things right. And I think that's the fun thing of if, the kids getting on the other kids. Like, say we had a kid show up for the first time today because he ain't had his paperwork in. We're requiring updated physicals. We're requiring a lot of paperwork with CMS on top of that. And so a lot of these kids haven't got a chance to do that because it's difficult to get a physical. We used to rely on everybody doing the heart of a champion, and that's huge for a school like West Charlotte, and we didn't have that opportunity because of COVID. So it threw us behind the 8 ball a little bit, but I think it's inspiring to see like a kid that came in today and didn't understand the speed and the expectations that we have to practice at, and the other players are getting on them. Like, hey, you gotta go. We're going back, stuff like that. Like, we had to redo something. And it's good that I always say good teams are well coached, but the great teams are led within the players, and they understand that. And I think that we're moving in the right direction. We're still a long ways away. We were picked by all of you guys that last in the conference. I'm just saying,
Yeah, how many forward passes have gone on in West Charlotte's practice in the last 2 weeks?
Hey, I couldn't tell you. Let me know when your workouts are, Sam. I'm gonna come over there and check you out.
Over under Grice 10. Over under.
Oh no, he's trying to prove a point. I'm sure he figured out trying to throw the ball forward. Like, he might have given us 11. I really think he's getting close to 15 actually.
I'm gonna give him over because the wide receivers got to do individuals. After they
gotta show them that, hey, we might throw it. We gotta get past it.
All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Let you guys have fun. Tell us about who the best players week were.
All right, one of my favorite times out here is GRICE'S Gems. First you want to start out.
Segment. You better like it.
I got to. Hey, but I'll make sure to say that. Gotta root for yourself if nobody else does. So we gotta first before we get started, we want to get credit to old Jim. We got North Raleigh Christians, Roderick Ray. Again, another week, 261 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, 10 tackles on Friday. He's a kid I feel like I could choose every single week, and I want to give him a quick shout out. And he's always one that's that's great to respond to us. But let's get into some guys that really had a great week this past Friday. We'll start with Matthew Tuomala. Again, this quarterback at Charlotte Christian. We've done all this talking about Russell Tabor at Country Day at Jake Helfrich. Let's get into Matthew Tuomala. He shows he's a dual threat guy. He had 8 of 13 passes for 184 yards and a score against Charlotte Latin. Also showed, again, as you can see with some of the film here, he can do it on the ground. Kind of a dual threat guy, even though he doesn't look that way. I had the pleasure of coaching this guy in youth ball, so I'm excited to actually be able to highlight him as one of my gems. Guys, Sam, when's the last time you had like a true dual threat guy that you could, you get in the air or in the ground?
Won a state championship last time I had him.
Hey, that shows you how big he is. A guy like Raheem, I'm sure, like you said, makes it pretty great.
He is. This kid right here is really, really good. I watched him play, versus Providence Day, and I thought that anytime that the D line overpowered the offensive line, he was able to get out and make plays. He reminds you of the Kyler Murray types, the Russell Wilson types, where he's able to convert and make plays by scrambling and still keeping his eyes downfield or hitting the check down. But he also is really good with his feet, and they use him in the running game. I think that's important. He's good.
Yeah, Gary, what about you?
I thought he was very good and calm. He's getting better as the season goes along. From the first game of the season against Country Day, now they're in their third game. Yep. I think you can see a lot more improvement in him, and they're going to need that because teams are going to gang up on the tailback.
For sure. Glad to see him getting better. So again, we're talking a lot about top players within Providence Day. One guy that really showed out this past week, I think he heard us talking about his quarterback, said, "Look at me, I can do it too." Here's Nickel Fields. Feel like he's been playing for so long on the varsity level. Friday he had 17 rushes for 241 yards and 3 touchdowns. In that win that you guys saw, 35-30 over Charlotte Country Day, a game Charlotte Country Day that made this game pretty tough. So this performance helped to give Providence Day their first conference championship since Fields' breakout freshman season. So again, a true guy that's been playing since his freshman year on varsity. Sam, I know you saw him up close. What did you think about his performance?
It was inspiring to watch how he ran. I thought the offensive line did a phenomenal job, and he gave all the credit to the offensive line. But you see that hole right there. He never had to break a stride. So he was already running 7-8 yards full maximum speed before he even had to make a move. And he was able to convert huge yards. Like you said, you have over 200 yards in a game, you're playing lights out. And I think that he finished off the runs really well. I love his name. How great of his name with his number? That's perfect, right?
It's all world name right there for sure. Yeah. What'd you think on him?
Hey, like it looked like he was shot out of a cannon, or he was in the track stance when he took those handoffs Friday night. I mean, he literally went untouched on 2 long runs like that, where I don't think anybody touched him, and it was like hit your head on the goalpost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. We'll move to our next gym. Again, hey, another guy in that backfield for Providence Day, J.T. Smith. This guy was a sophomore, actually, had 6 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Not only did it in one side, we always talk about these private school guys playing in all 3 phases. A guy that was a returner, also had another 2 catches for 25 yards and a touchdown. On defense, had an interception, had 8 tackles. Again, a guy that really is versatile. I think that's been one of the great things, Sam, about these private school guys. You get to see them do it in multiple phases. And here's a guy that shows you, hey, while nickel can get it done on offense, I can also help on defense and contribute any way they need me.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if they had enough guys that just have an offense and defense, they might need to run my type of system with the wing T stuff, because they got 3. Yeah. They got number 32 that's really good as well.
Oh yeah.
But it's great to see like 30 playing corner, 3s playing on defense. Like, that's awesome. Ironman football, do whatever it takes for the team. Special teams, they're getting after it. And I think Chad Greer, and we all said that. We said before the season started that he's changing a culture to be a powerhouse where they have a national schedule. Like, I don't think they have the players that they want for a national schedule yet, but they're going to be there in 2 years, no doubt.
And one thing college coaches like to see, if you can't go both ways in high school, then you're really not a major college recruit. Because at the high school level, you ought to be able to play more than one position in order to be a college recruit.
No doubt.
Definitely. Well, move forward to our last gym. Again, this is a team, in Rock Hill Northwestern that kind of surprised us. We saw the win, I think, last week over South Pointe. We see a team that's really emerged in South Carolina, and Christian Watkins is a guy we wanted to highlight. Had 171 yards on 7 catches for Northwestern, as they showed they were the kings of Rock Hill this year in a 35-21 win over Rock Hill this past Friday. The first region title in 5 years. I mean, when you have a receiver this good, Brian, I know you don't throw the ball a lot. You got a guy like this, I think you got to chuck it. You got to chuck it to a guy like this, Brian. What do you think about it?
Northwestern has really got something brewing. Remember how much of a disaster it was 2 years ago? Like, no one wanted to work there. Like, it was a huge disaster. Now that coach has really changed. They've always had talent there because it's right there in the heart of Rock Hill. They got kids. They got kids that could be really good, and it shows you right there. I like their little uniform combination, like a little change of the guard there, the gray top.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It looked kind of clean. I liked it a lot. I like being creative. But, yeah, they're big time right now. Northwestern, they're going to be a threat. I don't think that they're – because they got to play against, like, the Dutch Forks and the Gaffneys, right? Once they go to the playoffs, they're at that level.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. I know South Carolina does the assign based on your regional regional bracketing. So they would actually – I don't think they would have to face a divisional opponent in that first round. But, based on where they are so far and what they've shown, I think they'll be a real force to be reckoned with. So, again, you guys at Coach Jay GRICE'S, you see my handle. If you feel like you balled out Friday night, hey, go ahead and highlight yourself as a GRICE'S gym. Tag us, tag Griner, tag Langston Wirtz, and please let us know so we can highlight you here on Fridays. I think now it's time for Game of the Week, so let's get that going.
Okay, so guys, we got a couple of games this week that look to be potentially pretty good. One of them, the Charlotte Christian Country Day game, is a game that starts we'll call it the city championships. 4 teams going to play around, and this week Providence Day and Latin play, and Charlotte Christian and Country Day play. So what's your thoughts on the games?
Well, I'll go first. From week 1 to this third week, I really was impressed with Charlotte Country Day's improvement. I think they now have their identity. They know what they are as a team. They had Providence Day on the ropes, and it was just maybe 2 plays that flipped that game where Providence, got the momentum back and went on to win the game. But I think Country Day never quit Friday night. They kept battling. They closed the gap. I think this is going to be a lot better than the first game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Country Day upset Charlotte Christian.
Yeah, I think, Gary, you forgot the one thing that happened in that game you didn't bring up. That second half we played without Henry Rutledge. And I think that was one of the big changes that we saw between the tail of 2 halves in that first game. I think, Country Day, if we, gave a most improved award, I think you see, from game 1, kind of like Gary said, to now, Country Day has really shown that they could hang. And honestly, with some of the absences of players with Providence Day, I thought Country Day almost was going to pull off the upset this past weekend. But, a big thing for them is, we talk about the quarterback play in this conference. And you're seeing that with a guy like Russell Tabor. You're seeing that with Reid Simmons, the running back. They have players and can do a lot on offense and defense to make it happen. The bigger thing from game 1 to now is, what have they learned, and can they really do a lot to slow down that running back? Because you get a full game of Henry Rutledge here, they've got to do a lot better or it could get ugly.
Yeah, with Henry Rutledge, we saw on Friday night, that line got tired. They were playing both ways, offense and defense, and they were worn out by the second quarter, and it started to show. And it started to show big when they were breaking those big runs. All of a sudden, you started seeing Tabor getting a little bit more trouble because the line couldn't hold up for as long. So if they continue to run that ball into the late parts of that game, can the line keep up and not make mistakes that we've kind of seen them make in the past, which I think they can do. There's going to have to be smart, but it's really going to come down to that line, in my opinion, for Country Day, and they have the opportunity to pull it off.
Yeah, as I was telling the guys at the game the other night, when Country Day is on offense, if they can possess the ball the way they did against Providence Day. I think Providence Day only ran 3 plays in the first quarter of that game the other night. That's the kind of ball possession Charlotte Country Day had. It's easier if you got guys going both ways. It's easier for them to run block than it is to drop back and pass block and then turn around on defense and try to rush the passer and stop the run. I think if they can keep the game close, then they have a chance. But if they get in a situation where they got to do a lot of pass blocking and they're on defense a lot, like Kenzie said, they just wore down. They had so many guys going both ways, especially in the line.
Yeah, it's not it is common, I should say. Even Christian plays kids both ways. That's the way it is in private school ball. It's very much like 1A, 2A football. And even in 3A in the publics, we see some two-way players, but the higher up you go into the leagues, the less two-way players. But in private, it's very predominant. But the key is they're all really solid players, solid to good players. Friday night, so you were talking about Rutledge, and as one of the things we noted about Nichols versus Rutledge is that Nickel, he finds a hole, and he's better once he gets at the line of scrimmage. So when he gets to the line of scrimmage and then into the second level, he's a better back. Rutledge is very tough to get and handle in the backfield, especially as he runs and the way that Christian's able to allow that play to stretch out and move upfield as he's running. So I think that's going to be very difficult. I did want to very difficult for Country Day to contain. What surprised me about Country Day Friday night is that they went up, and this really should be for both teams that play Friday night, but they went up big. Then they lost a lot of momentum and fell behind big, but then they fought back. So against all odds, they started, they were able to fight back. So they definitely showed they had the fight and they had the ability. I think that quarterback is going to need to – he got hit a lot. He made some great throws after getting hit, but he got hit a lot. And Country Day's Christian's a little bit bigger. And, it's just pure physics. If he's getting hit that much and having to run around that much, that's going to wear down. I think it's got the potential to be a good game. Probably Christian's got a lot to maybe a big chip on their shoulder by losing to Providence Day and not being the number one team. That might be a little bit of a motivation for them. So I think a potentially good game. The question is going to be what happens in the second half. Now we got another big game. When Sam and I were riding back Saturday, we were talking about what game would we go to. Which game would we go to this week? And Sam didn't realize this game was being played, and he's like, "Well, if I would go to South, I would go to a South Pointe." Watch South Pointe play, and so South Pointe Dutch Fork. So this is a big. We got a big ball game here. Devontae Holloman, of course, played for Knott's for 3 years. He knows the Knott's system very well. What do you guys think about this ball game?
Go ahead, Gary.
Well, Coach Knott's reminds me of Coach Saban. He doesn't get beat by his former players. He doesn't get beat by his former assistants. I know a lot of guys that played and coached against Knott's or played for him or coached with him, and none of them beat him. He teaches everything but he doesn't teach you everything he knows. And he's just an awesome motivator, and he will find your weakness and he will attack it. And he'll have something special for Devontae Holloman. And as Ric Flair used to say, to beat a man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
Tommy Knott's is the man.
Without question.
Yeah, to continue with the colloquialisms there, one of my favorite shows is The Wire. And, it's a very interesting point of the character D'Angelo Barksdale teaching the other kids how to play chess. They were unaware. One of his most iconic lines there is holding up, the different pieces and talking about their, what they do. The last piece, which is the piece most people remember, he holds up the king and says, always remember, the king stays the king. And I think that's key here. You got a guy like Tommy Knott's. You saw some of the struggles with South Pointe against, a game and tough Northwestern team. I think you see those problems magnified against a program or against a team with the giant size of Dutch Fork. And I think some of those offensive struggles that we've seen, even, going forward, that's going to be really tough. And for them to achieve success against Dutch Fork, they're going to be able to have to move the ball and have that offensive success that we kind of haven't seen. You see, against York, I think it was maybe 14 points against them. And, I know, York isn't the biggest Titan on defense there as well. So they're really going to have to come out strong in that game to really keep this kind of in perspective or something in the second half where they can take advantage to win.
I agree. I think we just kind of keep mentioning it, but as someone who played for a coach and then went against him again in softball, I actually had my old signs and I pulled them out. They switched the signs on me, so it didn't work out so great.
So when did you figure out? Like, how far were you into this when you figured out, like, oh, crap.
I was like, oh, they're throwing a change up, and it was a rise ball. I was like, hey, he's really missing those pitches.
That's good stuff.
Were you at bat for
I think they told me at the end, but, it can become a little bit of a disadvantage as a player. You know, you're a teenager, you get a little cocky, you're like, yeah, I know what's going on, and then it just doesn't necessarily always work out the way you expect. And so that can definitely happen Friday night. You know, it happened to me. If it can happen to me, I mean, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
So
Tommy Knotts is the lone wolf. He's the GOAT, the lone wolf. Any name you want to say, he is that. If anybody says anything different, they're an idiot, because he's a genius. He's able to make game time decisions, but he's able to prep his team in the weight room better than anybody I've ever seen. But the difference, there's a lot of good weight room coaches out there. You know, Little John at South Point is one of the best ones too as well. But the difference in Tommy Knotts, in my opinion, that's why I want to go watch him live, is that he's able to see the game quicker than his opponent. He's like playing chess. Even if there's a good coach, even there's a wing T type guy that he went against, it's he's able to make those adjustments quicker and faster than they recognize that the situation's happening. And that's what separates him. It's not even close. That's why, to be honest with you, he'd be one of the best there is in North Carolina still if he was still here. Kenzie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's great seeing you at these games on Friday nights. You're pretty good, even though I disagree with the comment you said about that quarterback. I won't mention it.
I still standing pretty strong in that. So that's not an opinion that I think is going to change unless I see some big things change. So.
That kid's a dragon. He's a good player. He's like a Tebow type team. All right. Kenzie, who did you interview this week?
I think he threw me in so I could talk because you cut me off, man.
I didn't know you. I thought it was a mistake you were in here. I didn't know. You were like surprised when you got in here. I
was, because I didn't know he was going to do that. I just wanted to say about the South Point Dutch Fort game that you did mention that Little John played for him as well, and I liked your point about the weightlifting. I think Knotts was one of the first, or is the first coach that I've ever heard of having players lift on game day. That was probably the first time I've ever heard that. I think the big difference in the game, besides the fact that we got two great schools, but Dutch Fork is just a rolling team. Devontae's just now putting his program together, and he's just now bringing his coaches together. And while he knows a lot of the people, they're new working together. And Knotts is while he controls everything, as I think most people know, he hires good people. So he has a lot of good people around him that worked a long time. You're spot on his ability to see what's happening and make adjustments immediately. I think it's going to be a very tough game for South Point to be able to pull that win out. Mm-hmm. Knotts is just too good.
And he recognizes good because his defensive coordinator is one of the best defensive coordinators in the state as well, but he's an odd front guy. And we talked a little bit about the even front, odd front, and Tommy Knotts is not an odd front guy. He loves the four-man front. He literally loves it. And but he recognizes this is the best guy for the job to help us win, even though he probably runs them all the time in practice. Like, you run a four-man front. Yeah, I can hear him saying stuff now, but it just shows he recognizes whatever it takes for us to win, he's able to do it.
I didn't mean to interrupt, guys. I'm sorry. I just typed in there. I got overlooked, and
we ain't dropped the label yet, so we're about to. Who'd you interview? You said.
So Sam Hedrick, he's been a real guy at Country Day. He's also been one of the players who has actively knelt in actually all three games this year. And if you've seen the progression, it's actually grown with Country Day players, and it was bigger this week than it was the last week, and it was bigger that week than it was the week before. So I talked to him a little bit about that and some other stuff.
What's his number?
9.
Ah, okay. Good. Well, let's drop it. Let's see it.
Boom.
You know, you have guys who strongly believe that you should always stand for the flag, and you have guys that, you know, kind of believe that it's more about social injustice and not really disrespecting the flag. And that's kind of the belief I go under. When I kneel, I don't mean it as any disrespect to the flag. I have a lot of family that's been in the military, and so I think for me too, like, I wanna stand up for my teammates. Just realistically, most of the people that kneel, I think I was the only white person that kneeled. And so, like, I kind of want to show, like, I'm with you guys, and I've got your back during these times, and kind of want to show that there is some serious social injustice in this community, in our world right now, and I want to stand up for that and show them that I got your back. So that's kind of why I do it. But I don't mean it as any disrespect to the flag. So.
Yeah. And then your teammates almost tripled this week when they decided to kneel. Was there a certain reason behind that?
Well, I mean, I think everyone just felt more comfortable, like when they saw that, I don't remember how many it was. 3, I think, was the first game. So, I think they just kind of like saw that, other people were doing it, and they were like, we want to do that too. And, I think it just made more people feel comfortable in doing it, and they felt like, they could speak up about their opinion and knew that they wouldn't get criticized or anything. Like our head coach has been really great about that. And, he's really focused on, like, no matter what your opinion, I want everyone to respect their teammates and care for their teammates. And I think everyone has. So it's been nice to have that and not really face any repercussions like has happened at some other places I know.
That was pretty cool to hear that perspective, because I think that's so important for us to be able to just recognize everyone else, be able to open up the lines of communication. And for him to do that, like, he's got military family, strongly about one way, but he recognizes his brothers in need. That's big time stuff. I watched him play. Didn't know that was him until you said it. When I saw it, he is a big cat.
He's a big fella. He's a big fella.
Yeah. So I think you definitely play tight end at the next level, even though they use him like as a running back.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Yeah. He's split outside. Yeah.
And I asked Kenzie to say it, but I also want to let everybody know the full version of that video will be up at 10 o'clock. Really good video. Really insightful young man. I hope everybody tune in to be on the Charlotte Observer YouTube and Twitter pages about 10 p.m. So just look out for it tonight, and we'll post it all during the week. We'll clip it up so you can see the different clips as we do every week. Grice, it's my time. Am I going to get it right?
Your time to shine, man. I love it. It's your time.
I think I'm doing well, because in the green room I can see like the little video I'm supposed to hit. So if I can just hit the play button at the right time, I might have some success on Fresh Faces. All right. We got 2 kids from Country Day, a Providence kid, a Burns kid, and Chris, you said Burns is going to be really, really good this year. King Mountain and the Shelby. Y'all get ready. Here we go. All right, Kenzie, we got a double dip for you.
Oh, yeah.
And Reid Simmons. This kid is a work horse. He does pretty much everything in the game you can imagine. Running back. I think I saw him get in the slot a couple of times, just lining up as a receiver, defense. He does it all. Super quick. Sees great holes upfield. He's going to go up. He's going to make plays and grab the ball when it's needed. He really does gets things done when he needs to most. And a great leader. Saw him rally his team a couple of times at the end of the game, really just pushing for that win. And even though they didn't get it, you can definitely see his character and his leadership throughout the game. And he's a great player, and he's going to have success wherever he goes next.
Yeah, he runs the ball really, really hard. That's one thing I noticed. Yeah.
No, he does everything you can ask for in the back. I remember we saw him, Kinsey, against Latin, and I was like, who's this kid? And he really showed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good game. He played well this past Friday night, I thought.
He did. He was awesome.
Man, Country Day. I mean, Country Day is a really good 1-2 football team. They just haven't lost to probably the two best private school teams in North Carolina, and they may end up going to the Division II playoffs because of that. And they'll probably win state down there. I mean, they're really good. I'm impressed. I know we got a question coming about high school Heisman, and I would lean towards the quarterback in Country Day. I know Grice is going to disagree with me. We're going to save that for coach versus coach. But I'm really impressed with Reid Simmons and Country Day. And Coach Whitman does a great job with these guys. I think the young man Hedrick talked about that in the interview. And speaking of Mr. Hedrick, we got him right here, Grice.
Yeah, I've been screaming this guy's praises since I saw him play first 2 games of the year. I mean, this is a guy, he's to me, Lance, you're a basketball guy. This, he equates to me as a Draymond Green of football. He's a guy that's just a glue guy for the team. We see him catching the ball downfield. He's a guy that can be an H-back, can be inside. He's a guy you can hand the ball to. They run this very similar to like my 49ers with George Kittle on an end around here. And I mean, he's athletic enough to get to the edge and punish you if you think you're going to tackle him one-on-one. A guy on defense, as we see, a lot of times making plays as a linebacker, being asked to do different things. But I just like this guy's versatility. He can be a lead blocker. He can run a route down the field. He can block this guy to the moon, as you just saw here. And in every game that I've seen from him, he makes an impact, even if the stats don't, have this great, gaudy numbers like we see from Fields or like we see from Rutledge or things like that. But to me, this guy is as valuable to his team as any player in private school ball. And I'm glad that we're actually able to kind of highlight some of the things he's doing.
He's a private school Debo Samuel.
Yeah. But the stuff on defense, too, I mean, he does so much, man. It's crazy.
One thing he needs to do is get an extra pair of gloves, something I talked about in the game. He could catch the ball, but he looked like he was about to fumble it when he's so soaked because he's playing both sides of the ball. He was wet. Exactly. He's a small guy.
All right, there we got John Balas of Providence.
Exactly. So
watching
different film here, what I saw is that the kid he is fast. He is great lateral speed as well as I saw in some of his stuff. Yeah, he's very fast, good hitter, nice athletic. He also gets great angles. I thought he read a couple of the it may be this one here because I only got to see yours. Nope. I only got to see your highlights one time, Langston.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but the kid's a great ball player. This may be it right here. Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, Providence has this little saying it's called on the bus, and he's definitely on the bus. That's a little rundown for you, Grice.
Yeah, that's a nice rundown. Got the nice angle. Yeah, he's a good ball player.
Hey, these are those. This is what jumps out to you to a recruiter, I'm sure, right? You see this guy.
Here, young fella.
Look at that. He's a
DK Metcalf or somebody. I like that.
Come downhill. Come downhill.
All right, next up we got Dorien Starnes of Burns. Chris Hughes said they're gonna be really good, Sam.
Yeah, they're definitely gonna be really good. And if they got more players like this guy, look at this guy. He's talking about the DK Metcalf.
Big boy.
Just the tumbling like I can hear Chris, talking about it right now. Right before Monday Night Football. With a 3-minute warning or something like that. But
Chris, we miss you, buddy.
You get walked down by a lineman. Woo.
6'2", 240, but the best thing about him, he's got a 3-point.
Come here.
You're talking about all the Ivy League schools should be after this kid because he might only be 6'1", but he's very explosive off the ball and he's got a motor. That's very hard.
Make him a safety in college.
Make him a safety. He play linebacker.
He can play outside
linebacker speed, man.
He doesn't have. He don't have quite the agility for a DB, but you want your
he could be that run stuffer safety guy.
Well, if you got an on front, he could be off the edge, and the 4-man front, he's a defensive end. And but he's got that's good angle, and he's just got a huge motor.
He can play DE.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, they're going to be a problem in 3A, and I don't know if they're going to end up having to play Catholic. They're going to be a problem. Burns is really, really good. Chris talked about Burns 3 or 4 times this year. So Langston Burns is really good. So I think people need to watch out. And I love the uniforms, by the way. Burns,
uniforms.
They got that San Diego Chargers thing going on.
Oh yeah.
Those uniforms are nice. They kind of remind you of the Chargers a little bit.
Yeah. All right. We got Blake Davis, Kings Mountain, staying in Cleveland County.
Oh, man, I love Cleveland.
Yeah, guys. This guy is a mauler. he is mauling people. He plays guard, mainly tackle, but if you notice, they run a lot behind him. And he does two things. He pancakes people and he scores with his man. That's the new offensive saying, kind of like in the blind side where when you lock on to somebody and you just block them all the way through the end zone. Now they offensive linemen call that scoring with your man. If you watch,
man knocked him down and went stuck his hand out and said, "Come on, fella, get up."
Yeah. But he's blocking guys 10 yards down the field, and he gets out on that split end screen where the tackle just automatic releases to the corner, and he's getting there quickly. And of course, when you're a corner and you see a guy that big, you're gonna back up, and that's a real big play for them to run that split end now screen, so to speak. He's a good blocker. Look at him from behind. He's getting ready to go score with his man. He gets locked on, and he's going after the corner right here.
Yeah, that's a big boy coming at you.
Field, so he blocks well in space. Didn't really get a chance to see his kick step.
Watch this.
Watch this.
Wait for it.
Good athleticism here, yeah.
He gets down the field.
Taking that backfield shoulder, making sure the corner's there.
All right, we're going to stay in Cleveland County for our last gym. We got Shayle, Gash.
Hey, love agile guys like this. Is a 2021 kid, 6'2", 275. We've seen Shelby, win state titles. QB Isaiah Best. Loved having a guy like this to be able to have clean pockets all day. We see he plays guard. He can play some tackle here, but you see good pass protection, locking onto his guy and ensuring the best had a clean pocket all year last year. We don't really highlight too many offensive linemen a lot of times in some of these big programs, but those are the reasons why these guys are so successful. You see them.
We're going to highlight linemen all year on Fresh Faces, I promise you, all year. Linemen every week.
But you love the agility, and I think that's what we're seeing from some of these great linemen is just great agility and the ability to finish guys like none other. I mean, you're seeing.
Man, I love that. I love that Bermuda grass in the wintertime, man. I love that.
No, it's a good look. But yeah, I love how they get these guys out of the paint. We tell our guys it's like throwing them out of the club. You're club security. You got to get that defensive lineman out of the club, and he does that really well.
You football guys have some very weird sayings, I'll tell you that.
Hey, you got to reach these kids, and these kids get weirder by the year. You tell them, hey, get them out the club. You've been there. You're back in the day, Langston. Those security guards, clearing somebody out the club. It's like you create a hole for anybody to run through.
Hey, if you can't talk like they can, you can't relate, bro.
Hey, they love it too. You love to get them out the club.
Sam is in the back saying he is good, he is nasty. This is Sam's kind of player right here. Shayle, Gash out of Shelby. A lot of talent in Cleveland County, guys. Every year they produce state champions, deep playoff runs. Just a really talented area for high school football down there in Shelby. It's really impressive.
Well, the game, Langston, is if anybody gets a chance. I went last year. Is Shelby Kings Mountain game?
I can't get down there by 5 p.m. if I'm not playing. That's one of them games you got to get down there early. Like I don't know what they're going to do now with presumed restrictions and players. Like you got people climbing the fence trying to watch the games.
Well, Grace, a fantastic ball game though. I tell you, Grace,
you know what time it is now?
Oh yeah, hey, we got Doom. We got Gloom. That's Bruce Buffer in this corner. Hell, UNC.
We got Doom and Gloom.
I'm happiness.
It's happiness. Like we got this corner from UNC-NC State.
Let's go see what we got in the 2-minute warning.
Whew. Well, we haven't been gloom lately, or doom.
No.
And hopefully this next school hopes we're not gloom and doom for them. We want to talk about Clemson and are they getting bored with playing inferior talent? What do y'all think about that question?
I don't think they're getting bored, but they're two forms of coach speak or coach line of thinking about when you're playing an inferior opponent. One of the people that I idolize as a coach is Jimmy Johnson. And one of the things he always talked about is if every game is a big game, then none of them are. You know, you can't fool players that it's a big game when you know the opponent is vastly inferior. And are they getting bored? I wouldn't say bored. I just think sometimes they go through the motions. They know that they can turn it on whenever they need to. If that's Miami in prime time, or that's Notre Dame in prime time, or that's Alabama, Clemson's going to be ready to go. They've been in so many big games that, you know, a lower tier conference or non-conference on 12 o'clock noon on a Saturday, they don't get excited for that. Plus, you also got to remember they're used to playing before 85,000 fans, and now they're playing before 20,000 fans. It's almost like a spring scrimmage to them. So I wouldn't worry about Clemson. They're gonna be just fine. When it's time to buckle up, they're always ready. Kenzie?
Well, you know, they played Syracuse this week, and historically, in the past few years, Syracuse has always kind of come down to the wire. So I think that's just one of those games for them that, I mean, it's Syracuse comes to play and, you know, against Clemson, which is random, but I mean, the ACC has inferior talent to Clemson. It's very obvious that Clemson is the best team in the ACC, and it's not even close. I mean, as an SEC person, there's definitely been a lot of talks of, yeah, go undefeated in the ACC, come try to do that in the SEC. It's a lot harder. You're going to go to the national championship game. You're probably going to have a lot less injuries. Right now, SEC is playing an all-conference schedule. Auburn versus LSU, Auburn versus Florida, Auburn, Tennessee versus Alabama. Like all these games that have these big-time players and they're expecting these big-time plays. You know, Waddle goes out first play against Alabama. That's a big impact. Would that have happened if he played for Clemson against Syracuse?
Sorry, but there are plenty of big-time players at the other schools, and some of those programs you just mentioned aren't quite so good this year. But
they're also playing big teams, real teams. You know how it is.
Not really, but
you know how it is. SEC bias. You know, put us in the rankings. We got you.
So anyway, to the point. You know, Sam and I was talking about what that Clemson environment is like to be in Death Valley. And I've had the opportunity, not as a player, obviously, but to touch the rock and walk down the hill. And I don't think Clemson, while they could be a little lackadaisical and, you know, a little lazy about a game right now, I really don't think so. I don't think it's going to impact them. I think they're clearly the best team in the nation, and they'll be able to turn it on or off whenever they need to. I don't think it's going to impact them. He'll have them ready. They'll be ready when they need to be ready. They're almost professional type players, so they know what they got to do to get it done. All right.
Well, guys, the private schools have played their round robin. They have a seed, and now they're getting ready to play each other again for a second time as a conference tournament, kind of like, you know, we're used to in basketball, except it's football this time. Was that the right thing to do? And can you play a team too many times in football?
Well, so we asked the AD, first of all, about what they were doing. And so they've got to play right now inside the city. So do you want to sit until the playoffs is the question. You know, you got an opportunity of a couple of weeks to play football. What do? You go ahead and play. If these schools play each other, I don't want to say typically, but there's a good opportunity they're going to play each other every season 2 times.
Right.
In the regular season, and they face in the playoffs. It's one of the disadvantages of the number of programs there are in private school that you end up when it goes through the playoffs. And I shouldn't even say that because we do that in Charlotte. You know, having so much of the 4A and 4AA, especially here in Charlotte, schools can a lot of times face each other twice. I think it was the right thing to do to go ahead and play this tournament just to keep the kids playing. That's why, it was, are you going to play or not going to play? And everybody, they wanted to play, so they're taking their I don't know how to put it, but they're carrying their axe to the woods and not just talking about it, but actually doing the work. So I'm glad they did it. They could not get other games. That's the problem. So, park it for a couple of weeks and then go into the playoffs. This was a good move.
What do you think, Kenzie?
I mean, I agree. Football is football. I think a lot of these kids want to play. If they're playing the same team twice, I think they're kind of like whatever at this point. I think, Country Day and Latin might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulders going into those games. And, we lost once, let's go win now. So I think it's actually could be a lot of fun for some of these kids, maybe not for, Providence Day thinking Latin's not going to be like, oh, we're going to blow them out 48-0 again. But for the people who lost, I mean, for me as a player, that would put a chip on my shoulder and I would be like, heck yeah, I want to go win this game. Like, let's do it twice. Let's see what we can do. Let's see how we improve. And for me, it'd be a lot of fun. So I think it's fine. I think it's fun.
I think a lot of these kids are probably friends, and it gives them bragging rights between games. I know as a former head basketball coach, there were years where we would play a team twice in conference. Then we play them once in the conference tournament. And then, like you said, Dale, then you meet them again in the state playoffs. So that was a possibility of 4 times. I can also remember a time when we almost played a school 5 times because we played twice in conference. Then we both were in the same holiday tournament. Then we met in the conference tournament. And then there was a possibility of playing in the state. And I never heard the kids complain about it. I think that might be something in the coach's mind, but I don't think kids worry about it, especially if it's a rival. You love playing your rival.
Right.
All right. It's time for One's Gotta Go. Vinegar-based barbecue sauce, ketchup-based barbecue sauce, or mustard-based barbecue sauce. What do you think, Gary?
Wow. This sounds like a North Carolina barbecue contest. North Carolina is distinct for having 3 regions of barbecue. You have Eastern barbecue, you have, which is toward the Raleigh and the Southeast area. Then you have the middle of the state, which you have Lexington barbecue. And then towards the west, you have Western barbecue. And then South Carolina is known for the mustard-based barbecue. So my first preference, if I'm going to eat a barbecue sandwich, which I love, I prefer Lexington barbecue. If I have to get rid of one, it's probably going to be the mustard-based barbecue. That's just my preference. I like Eastern with the vinegar-based, and I definitely love Lexington barbecue. How about you, Dale?
Well, the problem with that question is that Piedmont style or the Central North Carolina style is vinegar and ketchup and brown sugar. Whereas the Western style is ketchup and brown sugar. So, and then Eastern is just apple cider vinegar and spices. So that is kind of there's a mixture there. When I make sauce, my preference of sauce is the Piedmont style sauce, the Lexington style as you like. So when my sauce that I make is that, and then my second sauce that I make is typically in Eastern North Carolina. There's also 2 styles of mustard-based sauce, and one of them includes vinegar. So this question is kind of to people who do barbecue stuff. So, but as you noted, I do not make a mustard sauce for my barbecue. I love mustard sauces, and I'll eat them when I'm in South Carolina, down in the Lexington, South Carolina area. That's wonderful sauce, but I don't make it for myself. So obviously that means a mustard-based sauce is gone.
Kenzie, what do you know about this North Carolina barbecue?
Well, I got to be honest. Born in Texas, raised by Kansas City. I don't like North Carolina barbecue sauce at all. So vinegar's got to go. It's out. I don't want a salad dressing on my barbecue sandwich. Like just give me some like
off the show. What?
Sugar, that Texas barbecue. We like to keep it real. Some real stuff, not that salad dressing.
The thing is that pork wants a vinegar. So if you're it does. So even your Texas people will do that.
Wheelhouse.
Because that's what brings out the flavor of the pork. Now, beef wants a sweeter sauce, not a.
I just like my sauce.
Get Langston in here. We need a new segment. Dale was like barbecue. We need like a 5-minute Dale and barbecue segment. I'm down.
Guys, I've eaten. I have menus for over 200 different barbecue restaurants.
Dale is a connoisseur of two things: barbecue sauce and wings. Dale and I have had a lot of laughs over some hot wings, and Dale can eat the hottest wing and not flinch. I mean, it's like Dale had me taste one of his wings. I like to die, and he's like, and it's like nothing, and I'm like, where's the milk? I mean, it's like, and he's laughing because he knows it's true. I can't do it. I'm out.
I love hearing what people are good at, man, and that part. That's awesome. I love that. Like,
I want something spicy with some mushrooms or something, Dale. I like spicy stuff.
Hey, listen, that portobello mushroom, I rub that baby down like you would a brisket or a rib, and oh man, it was great. So I'm going to do the vegan stuff all in your honor. So, and I'm going to have all you guys over. As soon as we get this thing finished out back here, they did the cement today. We're going to do some barbecue. Gary's a barbecuer too now.
Yeah. Gary's got that set up.
He's got it set up.
Yeah.
We're getting the message to toss it, but I'm here. Like the coach versus coach, man. We might have to bring some barbecue segments in there. Jack.
Which one did they get rid of? Which one did they get rid of though? I didn't hear what would you get rid of, Dale? What you would get rid of? I think
I would not get rid of any. And if I had all in front of me, I don't make a mustard sauce. So obviously,
that's the question.
Because that's the one.
Mustard. Hey, doom and gloom has changed. I think we're getting like Chef Boyardee level here with these two guys with the great food stuff. I had to come with a better talk here, but I mean, this has been phenomenal. But hey, it's one of our favorite times of the week. Favorite thing that you guys fans look to as a prelude to Monday Night Football. Drop that Coach Coach Coach.
Well, guys, last week we had some topics, and y'all almost agreed on every one of them. It wasn't any fun.
Maybe we didn't agree on everything. Like again, you're asking certain.
You elaborated on each other's answers and everything. We need to get back to saying we got to get ready for Hopewell, West Charlotte, and this is the best way to do it.
Like it's hard to do it when it's like 4 months away. Like I see by the time I see Sam, we're done and dusted at this point. Hey, we ready to get it forward. So hey, we'll get back to it though. Like I said, your name on this segment is the substitute. You're over here
right now.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. Everybody say hello to Chris.
Oh, he's living it. Hey, Granny, he's
living the life, isn't
he? Living the dream. I ain't gonna lie though. Like when I go back on this show, we go to Dubai. I might. Hey.
Right, Coach was coach from Dubai. Go up there in the tallest building he was in, kind of have it up there.
Yeah, and you know what? He was showing us all these nice pictures, and the last thing I saw today is he was talking about how good McDonald's was in Dubai. He's like, the beef over here is just so different.
He says he's there to work. Has anybody seen him work yet? He hustled somebody. I
love it.
All
right, guys. First topic tonight. Thursday, we get a rare primetime game.
We stay on long enough. I know we can't do it. He might catch us on here. He gets up to run at like 5, so he's almost there.
Yeah. On Thursday, we get a rare primetime game for the Panthers against their arch rival, the Atlanta Falcons. And today, we found out that Christian McCaffrey returned to practice. So it looks like he may play on Thursday night. What are your thoughts on the game between the Panthers and the Falcons? Sam, you go first.
Well, like I said, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now, especially if they get McCaffrey back. I think that, the backup did a phenomenal job, but McCaffrey's like one of the best running backs in the entire league. He's right up there with, he was the best last year, and he's like an Alvin Kamara this year. I mean, he's really good, really, really good. And he changes the dynamic of their team. Even though they were 0-2 with him, I think that they've learned how to play because Teddy Two Gloves is really starting to hit a stride. They should have won the last game. They just missed a field goal. And, the guy normally can make a field. It was a long field goal. Then he tried to go like a 65-yard.
And barely missed it.
I love it. Take a shot at it. Dang on. Let's do it. Let's go. And I like what they're doing. Like I said, I wish they'd lose the rest of their games and get a great draft pick, but it's just not going to happen. They're going to win this game.
Like I told you, man, I've been saying it since the beginning. I know you hope, so it was a conflict for you to not believe they would do well. I told you, my man, Teddy 2G and Matt Ja Rule. Like, my guy Matt Rule, baby. Like, we're gonna put him on an album, one of those old Ja Rule album covers. Rule, baby. Like, he's done a phenomenal job. Offensive coordinator Joe Brady's done well. I told you at the beginning of the year, I thought they could get 7 wins, and I think we're gonna see them positioned extremely well at the halfway point to get 5. I think it's a great chance here to take down one of your big rivals and kind of sweep them for what? Gosh, this is the first time in years that they have the potential to get 2. And now you're getting a key component of your offense, pretty much the main cog, and a point where the quarterback is at a great place. The team's confident. The head coach seems to kind of get NFL ball kind of under his, kind of get him under himself and be ready to play. But I'm just excited for the chance for McCaffrey to be back, everybody to be clicking. Teddy Two Gloves had a perfect QB rating first half, outplayed Drew Brees. Did not expect that, but outplayed Drew Brees in the first half, and you could argue the whole game. So I'm excited to see him continue to grow. And again, it's we're watching the WCNC. It's like they're keeping track of your ex when he's with his new girl, and you see your ex Cam Newton up in Foxborough seem to have a little trouble with his new boo, and it's a loss. You're looking up there and see your ex going through marital difficulties, and hey man, not working.
Hey, you see Teddy Two Gloves when he went to the bench when he went out of bounds.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, those are always fun when the guys sit there by their quarterback looking at the tablet and everything.
Yeah, that was
oh yeah, but that's good to see him. It was probably a little bit of extra motivation against his old team. They chose to give money to Taysom Hill, the do-it-all Swiss Army knife guy, instead of giving him that money. So it's a motivation there.
Swiss Army knife guy was a quarterback for me. No.
I mean, that's fine. You got to pay. You paying all that money. I mean, if I'm gonna pay all that money for a car, I'm gonna drive it. I ain't gonna leave it in the garage.
I'm with you.
All right, guys. The next topic.
What do you think? Hold on, substitute. Hey, let us know what you think.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. I think the Panthers are going to blow them out. Atlanta their defense is almost as bad as the Cowboy defense.
No, not
well, no. Did you watching that last game where Gurley scored when he wasn't supposed to and allowed the Lions to win? Oh my goodness, we created a support group for my receiver coach, Coach Trotty, because he's a Falcons fan, man. He's from Georgia, and it's just every week I'm texting him, and Cowboy fan, our D coordinator, Coach Sanders, he doesn't even speak anymore because you can't speak when your team's that bad, but. Our receiver coach is going through it, and now he's in Charlotte, and his team is about to get their butts whooped by the Panthers. Man, it's great, man.
Yeah, I think we got a sweep here. It's going to be the Panthers on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
What I hate is it's not going to be enough Atlanta fans to come up to Charlotte, so the Panther fans can say 85 South, 85 South. The fan rivalry is so fun, but we're not going to get that this year.
Speaking of 85 South, this next question is going to be definitely 85 South.
Yeah. Well, next question. Now, let me add a little caveat. Everybody kind of assumes that Alabama and Clemson are going to meet for the national championship for what would this be, the 4th time?
Mm-hmm.
And
this will be the 4th in the national championship. Yep.
But one of the things I think I want you two to consider in this question. One of them is probably going to have to play Ohio State in the semifinals.
And
does that factor?
And nobody cared. And
does that factor into who wins the next game?
Absolutely.
Steamroll. That's one thing we agree on. No, they steamroll Ohio State. Justin Fields is a great quarterback. we'll talk about him a little later. He's a great quarterback, but no, Ohio State is not on that level. And, even looking at the conference schedule that they're going to have to play, I mean, they're not going to play type teams. So I'll let you talk on that.
You look at Clemson, when they've played Ohio State in the playoffs, like their point differential is like 50 points to something very small. It's like ridiculous. They dominate them. It's not even close.
They didn't dominate them last year. They won on the last series.
They lost a lot of talent, though. You lose.
The season before that, they still won.
Yeah.
And then the season before that, like Clemson was down a little bit compared to what they are this year and the year that they won the national championship and the year before they won the national championship with Deshaun Watson. So, like, here's the thing. Like, there's a drastic change, I think, this year. If they play just like when they played them 2 years prior, they beat them, 35-0 or something? I mean, they beat them bad. Yeah, they beat the brakes off of them. But,
I'd consider it, like they lost a lot of talent. You look at that Ohio State team.
Yeah.
Not nobody there. Like J.K. Dobbins is gone. Jeff Okuda's gone to the Lions now. You got Chase Young that's gone. Like all of those names, and you look at the Clemson team, Lawrence is still there. Etienne's still there. Like a lot of the big talent, like the DBs. I mean, Venables is deep as he's ever been a DB. So, again, don't get me being a Clemson lover, but no.
Well, does the fact that Alabama lost Waddle this weekend, does that factor into the game?
Yes, 100% it factors in. They got a lot of receivers. Even if they have him, I still think Clemson, I'll go on this, that, Clemson is going to win the national championship. I just think that this is the last year Trevor Lawrence is playing, then he goes number 1 pick overall. And I wish it was the Panthers, but, it is what it is. But definitely Clemson is at a different level right now, I think, than Alabama. Alabama, like you even heard the head coach talking about like offense wins games right now. Like he's lost his he's off his rocker right now. Like, he still got talented players. But I'm telling you what, like it's just they're not very good on defense. They're just really good on offense. And they're always gonna be okay on defense because they got some of the best players in the country. They always recruit well. I don't think they've ever had some in the last 10 years, I don't think they had less than the 3rd best recruiting class ever in 10 years. So they're going to have dudes. But Clemson is just – they play with a different emotion right now. They got the leaders in the right spot. Their coaching changing does not happen at all. And I think that continuity really, really pays big when they play against an Alabama. I think that Dabo Swinney is the one guy that will have a winning record versus Nick Saban. And I think they'll win the national championship. Yep.
Yeah, a couple of things I think you got to point out. I mean, you talked about the Saban comment. Let's go back. Hey, we're at that time of year, Gary, that time when Dabo starts criticizing the media, whatever the subject is. Hey, again, Saban said this after struggling against an Ole Miss team that's put points up on everybody. Dabo's complaining because it was Syracuse. That's who he's complaining about. They got 20-some points put up on. Again, Clemson's going to struggle because they're gonna moonwalk. Michael Jackson moonwalk their way into the CFP final or national championship. They're not going to play anybody. You got a situation where
they got to play Notre Dame.
No one cares about Notre Dame. Come on, man. Notre Dame made it to play Clemson a few years ago in the CFP semifinal. You didn't think they would score points, and they got the brakes beat off of them. No one really considers Notre Dame to be some viable opponent. While every week, Bama and all Saban's doing is playing guys that know him in and out. Played Georgia. That's okay. You know what? I'll have my chessboard here ready to go with my king, like I'm going to do when Charlotte Christian wins the city championship. I'm going to hold it up and say the king stays the king. And that's what's going to happen this spring. You're going to see when Saban holds it again.
Do this for me. Let's just break it down, okay? Better quarterback, Clemson or Alabama?
Not by much. Mac Jones is probably top 2 or 3.
Can you give me the answer?
That's the next question. That's the next question.
Okay. I said he's 2 or 3. Trevor Lawrence.
Who's the best running back between the two teams?
That's a closer. Oh, get out of here with that. This year, Najee Harris
is really good. He's not ATN though. Like there's
ATN playing against JV squads. Man, get out of here. We got
a kid Alabama back better.
Syracuse has no talent. We got a kid from Vance that is like one of the best players immediately as an 18-year-old kid for Syracuse defense. It's Stephon Thompson. That shows you the talent deficit that you see. That kid's going in there and killing it. You don't have the quality of players that are in the ACC to handle this. And Clemson's going to come in this game and not be able to handle the speed immediately. Like I'm telling you, and again, I love black coordinators. Tony Elliott's great. you're starting to see where he's getting a little hand, you know, in some of these games where they're struggling, he's got to get him out of a rut, and these players are going to have to get him out. We can tell a big difference from Jeff Scott to Tony Elliott when we talk about offensive continuity. I can tell a difference. And
I'm 1-0 with you right now with the 14-point spread that I got. I'm already getting them nice. Let's go ahead, and if they lock in, they're going against each other. Let's lock in for, you know, full course vegan dinner on my end.
I'm tired of this vegan crap, man. Can't you eat like a chicken or some pescatarian? I'm like pescatarian. Can we get some shrimp? Like, come on.
If you win, I'll eat some meat.
I mean, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to I don't want to go burger or brisket with you. Like, we'll go shrimp or something.
Hey, wait. Sam said he'll eat meat.
I'm not trying to kill him. Like, don't get me in trouble with my wife. No, hold on.
I got this on tape, Coach.
Yeah, make him eat spam or something like that. Some
yeah. Hey, he's not in that nice house. He don't know about that spam these days. That was a long time ago for him ever. Look at that nice house back there. You see those pictures on the wall back there? Like, you don't know nothing about no spam. You see the crown molding up there? Like, come on.
I hear you.
Come on. But yeah,
all right. Now, I said the next topic was going to be about quarterbacks. It's a given that Trevor Lawrence is probably going to be the number one pick, and most the bad teams in the NFL are looking to tank for him. But now the question becomes: is Mac Jones from Alabama good enough to displace Justin Fields as the new or the number 2 quarterback pick in the next draft? What do you think? Grice,
I think we're getting there. I mean, you know, that's one of those things where if you asked this a month ago, you know, people look at you like you're crazy. But some of the games he's played, I mean, you look at Ole Miss, and I mean, how he's throwing for over 300 yards in every game. True, he has a great receiving core, but again, we say that thing about Trevor Lawrence as well. I think the difference for Alabama this year, which normally has been the defense, something that Saban has really championed, I think he's realizing that his explosive offense, you know, led under Coach Sarkisian, has really changed, you know, turning the tide. When you saw them play Georgia against Stetson Bennett, everybody, you know, in Athens tried to convince you, oh, Georgia's got a decent quarterback. Mac Jones embarrassed him. Mac Jones showed exactly why he's the next and what's turning into be a nice line of quarterbacks, and why Bryce Young didn't immediately come in there in Alabama, the 5-star recruit, and start. This is why, because Mac Jones has played extremely well so far during the season against much tougher talent. He's showing you he's next up. He's number 2, and I'm telling you, he's gonna get close to Trevor Lawrence this year.
Okay. It's neither one of those guys, to be honest with you. It's the next best, in my opinion. I'll break down why, is Sam Howell. And a lot of people are going to be like, what, Sam Howell? Like,
but he's not eligible to come out next year.
No, he's not. But it says who's the number 2 quarterback in college football.
Okay.
Draft. Yeah. Pay attention to the question. I really.
He does that every week. He does his little thing. Make him stand up.
No, here's the thing. Like, you might be able to name one. Name a great quarterback that's came out of Ohio State that's been very effective in the NFL.
Probably none. I mean, with Urban Meyer, he really didn't have it.
The reason why that they always get drafted high, because their offensive line is so superior to everybody that they play until they get to the national championship playoff series. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they're so superior, so they have so much time. They have so much more ability to beat other teams because it's like lopsided. Like, is Ohio State, you know, kind of like Clemson, lopsided in the ACC. Like, they're the same in the Big Ten, but they literally dominate people because they're all about offensive line. Clemson doesn't produce the offensive line that Ohio State does. Same thing with Alabama. Alabama's been so dominant with the recruiting, like I said, the last 10 years, that their quarterback's done phenomenal no matter who it's been, like whoever it's been. And then here's the thing. How can you pull for a Justin Fields when he couldn't even win the job at Georgia? He couldn't even win the job.
Oh, ask them right now if they want him back. I bet you 100. Yes.
That's the difference between Alabama and Georgia right now is Justin Fields.
That OC leave to go to Tennessee?
Sam Howell with the less talent, like, he has to run around for his life and make some plays on his own. I'm telling you right now, he will be a better quarterback in the NFL than Mac Jones or Justin Fields. He will be a first-round type guy. He might be a middle of the way, first round, maybe late first round. But I'm telling you right now, the way that he plays, there's something to it whenever you're running around and you have to make plays and you have to throw it in tight windows because you don't have the best football players going against, you're
not going to disrespect De'Ami Choppy Brown, Daz Newsome. You're not going to disrespect them. Those are De'Ami Brown is one of the best receivers in college football.
So all right. So both of those guys could play for Alabama right now.
De'Ami Brown, absolutely. Yes,
absolutely not. They could not. not.
Let's give some credit. Hey, I'm about to put you a De'Ami Brown.
I think Brown could. I don't think Newsom.
You didn't see him bust AJ Terrell's behind last year. I got the film. That's fine. I can send you the Carolina Clemson all 22 from last year. He busted AJ Terrell's behind. Sam Howell threw him right away. Like again, AJ Terrell that went in the first round, unfortunately to the Falcons. They went in the first round corner.
Sam Howell walks around and just knows he's the baddest dude on the planet. Like, I love his confidence.
I love it too.
I mean, he's confident. I mean, that's a big thing for quarterbacks. That's something I look at. Leadership qualities. One of his best plays was not a throw. I wish we could run the film. When I watched it versus NC State, it made me want to root for them during the game, even though I got a player on the other side for NC State. When I saw him, they run like this zone read. And he fakes the run and he goes and blocks the other edge. Well, the running back takes it and he goes out the back end. Well, you saw he decleated a linebacker. I'm talking about like mano a mano. It wasn't like a crackback hit. He decleated them, and the whole sideline went bonkers. Like they were just so hyped for his dude. Their quarterback. They just made it.
Let me ask you this, Sam. You're talking about, what Ohio State quarterback has prospered once they got to the next level. Does the fact that Mitch Trubisky has not turned out to be a good player from Carolina affect Sam Howell's status?
Absolutely not, because it's a totally different change in the guard. The way that they play, I never thought that guy was a one-hit wonder. He was 1 year he just dominated. And then everybody's like, Mitch Trubisky, he might have had good measurables. But I've talked with him before. Now, I don't know him personally like I know Sam Howell. I know Sam Howell pretty well. And he's friends with, Kavaris and the guys, and I've been to the All-American game song.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. All right. All right.
It's like, he's always name dropping. Get to the point.
All right. My little girl wants to say, hey. All right.
Hey. I gotta help you win. Yeah, now you definitely gonna win. So again, I think we're talking about quarterbacks, and you're talking about kind of the Mitchell Trubisky aspect. Kind of derailing Sam Howell is the point you made with Ohio State and Justin Fields not having that same prestige as well. So I mean, again, I understand your point. I think the big thing for me is just that Sam Howell struggled for me early on against Syracuse was were a notable concern. Of course, we pointed at the Florida State game, and whether we talk, we know Phil Longo is amazing. I love listening to him talk and his philosophy, but some of the kind of handcuffing that you saw a little bit in that Florida State game, I know personally Gary was mentioning some of that, and it's just like we're seeing some of those things happen. I don't know what the reason is for that, but when we're seeing that, that's not the sign of a coordinator that's comfortable or that's really relying on his quarterback right now. And you see kind of a different scheme when you look at you look at Alabama, where they're letting Mac Jones have the free reign. When you look at Justin Fields, they're having that free reign. So I still think he can. And I mean, I'll never go against Sam Howell being from this area, but I think those are some of the concerns in year two we're already starting to see.
Did you see him try to crack Florida State game? Like they opened up the.
You can't erase the first half. He had a fantastic second half. Can't erase the first half.
There's something to
erase that first half.
A leader. He's just a great leader. He could lead my football team like 100% because in the huddle you trust that guy, even though they don't huddle very much no more. But
we don't huddle. That's you.
Women
put that back there with the 8-tracks grinder. We don't huddle anymore.
I know. I huddle.
All right, guys. Next question.
All right, sorry. We're rolling today.
Do you prefer that the state is going with predetermined playoff brackets, or do you prefer the Max Preps rankings, which are really based on strength of schedule to determine the playoff seeding? Grice, you take out first.
Okay, and I mean to kind of adjust that with the adjusted Max Preps rankings, they're not as much on that strength of schedule. I know this because we were kind of hosed by it this past year. where we finished, 6 in our conference, especially one of the toughest conferences you see. And they, kind of, between whatever their math is, decided we wouldn't get in the playoffs. And one of these East schools who doesn't play anybody decides to get in front. So don't let me rant on that. I can go for the whole segment. But, I do like the predetermined playoff brackets from a holistic perspective. We talk about, especially this year, it being so unique. It provides the opportunity for some great matchups. We do have a conference only schedule, so that predetermined playoff bracket is going to get some interesting situations. Like you look at South Carolina, you look at the Region 1 playing the number third, team finished third in another conference in another region. I mean, could you imagine looking at that last year's conference seedings? We get a first round opponent or a first round matchup with Myers Park versus Vance. You look at AK, who finished first in their conference, playing against Jupiter Wilson and Hickory Ridge. I mean, you look at that, those kind of predetermined seedings, and I think you really get some quality football. And it tells teams and lets them know, hey, you beat the team that's just down the road. This is what you get. Now, we don't have to go do some math. I don't have to go have Sam go back there with his calculator and figure out your 26.2 strength of schedule times 5 carry the 1/3 and figure out, hey, you determined that you're the 14th seed. I'm tired of the mathematicians deciding what we do on the field. And I'm going to cut it off because I can go all day on that.
Sam?
I'm with you on this on a way, but I think that you're wrong. I think they just need to get better with the max preps strength of schedule. Like last year, you should have got in because you're playing in the hardest conference. Everybody in the whole world knows that the IMAC is the hardest conference. I mean, it could be debated with a couple people, but year in and year out, that's the most dominant conference there is in the state. So here's the thing. If you say the 4th best team, okay, in our conference doesn't go to the playoffs, they only do like top 3, like first, second, third, then you're talking about big 4A teams that are like projected to win Vance, Huff, and Mallard Creek. Those are like big 4A. And then you got everyone after that will be competing, like as you say, is the, I don't know, you call it like the
Division 2
championship or something like that. But here's the thing. That's so bad. We got to come up with something better than that. But, like that,
you'll see.
If you do the max preps, they just got to do a better job at looking at the strengths. They got to do a better job with it. But if you do it with the predetermined, then no matter if you beat Mooresville and you beat, Lake Norman, beat Hopewell, and then we all of a sudden we beat North Meg. And we only teams that we lost to were those big 4A teams. We end up going 4-3, and we still don't get in the playoffs. That would drive me insane because I think that we have to have a winning record. I think we had to be 4-3, and I think the best way to go about it will be the max preps. They just need to do a better job at looking at the strength of schedule based on the conference that you're in. Since we're all playing in conference, it looks like.
Well, that's the second problem. A 3-8 team made it. Like a 3-8 team made it and didn't play, but Grimsley was the only team they played. Yes, I'm talking about you, Paige, which is my high school rival. So I don't care saying it out loud. That's horrible. 3-8. And you probably got.
And they got to adjust that. Like those splint conferences, that's the problem. I think you have like one team that's 3A and one team's 4A, and then all of a sudden they lose every game, but they win that one game and they get in the playoffs in like a high seat. That's got to be changed. There has to be an overruling decider. Like someone says you have to have a winning record, something of that nature to get into the playoffs. And then all of a sudden you keep the max preps rankings just to need to adjust it a little bit. Does that make sense? Like if you don't have a winning record, you're not going to the postseason. Kind of like a bowl game. You're not bowl eligible. You're not postseason eligible.
I agree. And my last thing on it, I just want the thing that I can tell my kids that makes the most sense. If I tell them, hey, you're not in because you didn't beat Mooresville and you didn't beat Lake Norman, that's a lot easier than saying, hey, this nerd in Raleigh said, hey, you played the 35th hardest strength of schedule, and because they played the 30th and then won a game on September 12th by 14 or more points, that's why they're going to the playoffs. My kids don't take that as well, man. I beat this team, I make it. It's easy.
They need to make
beat West Charlotte. We should have been in. Y'all were in. We beat you. We should go in. That's the rules.
Grice, you started this argument talking about math, and I had a flashback because I was a substitute math teacher this week, and they had word problems today, and I really couldn't help them because I don't deal with that math.
It's a true moment. It's just me and you and talking. It's just me and you. No one else is watching.
Who wants to break down this problem?
Yeah, that's
we have them on the AMPR. Hey, let's talk about max prep rankings here.
Yeah, Steve, you tell Mike the answer, and we'll and show your work. That's where the math.
Show your work, Max Prep. Show your work.
Show your work. Okay, last question. Who you got for high school Heisman? Who's the best player in the private schools this year?
Well, best player or best player on the best team. I think you can't do the best player on the best team. That makes no sense because he might not be the best player. The Heisman is the best overall player. That doesn't mean that they're the best. That's why they make the Heisman before the national championship, because it doesn't determine if they win a national championship or not if that's the Heisman. Sometimes it works out where they win both, okay, but it's the same thing in the private school right now. So high school Heisman is to the best player. And right now I would have my guy from Country Day, the quarterback. He is phenomenal.
Name Griner.
Say what?
What's his name, Griner?
I don't. Here she goes. It made me think about Kenzie, because Kenzie says, "Go ahead and tell me, Kenzie. Go ahead and say what you say."
So Russell Tabor, here's my thing. As a quarterback, a crucial point is you have to know when to throw the ball and who to throw it to. He seems to struggle with that a little bit. He likes to run backwards, maybe hold on to the ball a little too long, and there's just better quarterbacks. There's better players on his own team. There are better players. And they're the ones who are making him look good when he throws the ball behind him and they pull it in and then they make that catch. Yeah, so his stats may look pretty, they're decent, but paper doesn't show what he's doing on the field, because it's honestly, he's making throws that aren't great and he's getting lucky. And,
I'll
he made one great throw. Dale's in here saying he made awesome throws. That doesn't mistake the fact that he threw three. Four interceptions in one game.
Sam, we heard him. What were his words? 53. Providence Day.
Wow. Oh yeah. The guy was about to sack Russell Tabor. He goes off the edge and he's like, "Wow, that was amazing!" Like, he threw the ball on a rope.
That's not all he said.
He said,
"I can't say nothing about that," because he wanted to talk some smack. But that was a throw that
he was surprised.
Just don't make. Not only was he about to get sacked, but the way his body was going, the way his feet were going, and to make that throw. He was going backwards Friday night. He was getting hit. He had pressure on him.
Let's look at the difference in the skill guys in Providence Day compared to Country Day, and the game was 35-30 because one guy literally on
35-30, Providence Day couldn't recover an onside kick.
But they still have to score.
From 35-14 to 35-30.
You got to give them credit for that.
Credit, but again, the moment isn't in a loss. Stop it.
Here's the question, though. Grice is always saying the high school Heisman or the Heisman in college has to go to the player on a good team. It can't go to a player who's on a not so good team. And I'm just asking you guys, on the high school level, should the high school Heisman go to Russell Tabor, whose team could be 1-3 or 2-2, or should it go to somebody on Providence Day or Charlotte Christian? That's the question.
Team
Gary,
record.
what's your answer to that? That's the question.
Team record matters. That's everything. What do you mean? That's like
I
said, Gary, wait a minute.
I think winning matters. I don't think it's the only criteria. I think you should have over a 500 record, or else you're not impacting the team. You're impacting yourself. If you impact winning, you don't necessarily have to be the champion. But if you impact winning, then I think that's more important, or that should be the main criteria. If you have two players that are even, neck and neck, then I think the one that comes from the winningest program, or whichever one played the best in the head-to-head competition, that's who I would
think on that, Gary.
So if Crouch goes to Philip O'Berry his senior year and plays, and Philip O'Berry wins 2 ball games, Crouch is not the best player in Charlotte.
They're not winning 2 ball games. Griner will tell you that. If he's in Philip O'Berry, they're conference champions. Like,
no. Just answer my question. So they go there and they win 2 ball games.
No disrespect, but did he play for Harding after I left?
Oh, here we go. Oh, Lord have mercy. He did play. Hey, he had one of the most amazing drives against Huff. He played one drive, and I watched that on film before we played Huff, and he literally walked that team down the field, scored, and said, "You know what? I'm good. Like I'm good."
How many college players have had such a huge impact on their team? They were great players, but they had a huge impact on their team. Won a Heisman. They weren't the leading rusher in the nation. They weren't the leading passer. How many can you give me some of those examples where they were good players? No, I think Tebow's
one of the greatest college players.
I think the last player I remember, and I really don't remember, I read about him because he was a Cowboy, was Roger Staubach. You know, he won the Heisman, but they weren't in contention for a national title or anything like that. I mean, they beat Army, which is, you know, the most important thing at Navy. But he was just an outstanding player that he still won the Heisman despite the fact that they weren't in contention for a national championship or you know, one of the major bowls. That's
so
the
Grice is the contrarian in this topic. Grice thinks you got to be on a good team to win a Heisman. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. I think you are a good team because of that player, and especially when we're specifically talking about, you know, Russell Tabor. I thought he, you know, played well, of course, against Providence Day. Again, you know, when we look at a game like a Charlotte Latin is like my bellwether. So a team that you're physically superior to, that you should beat. When you compare games from these other contenders, like a Helfrich, like a Nickel Fields, like a Henry Rutledge, they all had dominant games, you know, against Charlotte Latin. Tabor did well, but he kind of struggled a little bit and didn't have that shining game. If you go back and look at like a Jake Helfrich, who had huge numbers, you go back and look at a Henry Rutledge, who had hundreds of yards and touchdowns. You don't see that same life.
Tabor was like 250 yards passing, 2 touch, and ran for 1 on Friday night.
Helfrich had like 3 and 4 touchdowns, and Rutledge.
I'm saying, I mean, that's a pretty good game. Yeah, he did.
Not bad, but again, we're talking best here. We're not talking about kind of good. And I think we're kind of talking about kind of good here. And you're like, oh, well, you know, he's kind of good.
All right, right now,
Jerome Harper
right now. Who's going to the green room for Grice right now? High school Heisman, who's in your green room?
Oh, okay. For me, high school Heisman or green room, you've got Henry Rutledge there. You've got Helfrich in the building. He's got to be there. It's your Matt Leinart. He's got to be there. You got Russell Tabor with the suit on. Russell Tabor is there. He's there.
He's got a
suit on. You got 3. He's there.
I got to make sure my guy at least got a suit on. At least he's there.
Oh, he's got a suit on. He definitely does. And hey, in the rankings that don't get to go, you know my glue guy Hedrick's got to be that. You kind of like 5th or 6th right there too. So.
You have 2 running backs and 1 quarterback in the green room. If you're only taking 3,
who you taking?
It's Russell Tabor is the only quarterback, and then you can go nickel as the other guy because he's dominated pretty well. His numbers are really good on the best team. For Grice, and
Grice says that's going to change in 2 weeks, though.
I'm bringing my chest set on here. I'm gonna have my king. I'm gonna have it out and let you guys know. Hey, the king gonna stay the king.
Kizzy, who's in the green room for you?
Nickel Fields, Jake Helfrich, and whoever the Charlotte Christian quarterback is. But I can tell you, Tabor's not in my green room. He will never be in my green room, and that is set in stone.
Y'all guys are hating on my man Henry Rutledge. What you got, Dale?
I'm going with exactly the 3 that Sam did. I like all 3 of those.
Look at Sam needs affirmation. Go.
I would love to throw a lineman, a defensive guy in there, but we don't ever give them credit. It would be 56 at.
Well, I mean, you guys can have whatever awards you want to have. You can have a defensive lineman award if you want.
Well, I like 56 a lot.
If he
would have stayed healthy, he would have been in my green room.
You talking about Zach? However you say his last name?
Yeah, however you say his last name.
But he's been hurt, though. He's already missed a game and a half.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
That's what eliminates him. Because
that's what I'm saying. Like it create their own little.
It does matter.
I tell you what, number nine for Country Days.
Number 9 is very good.
Sam, he's pretty good. He's going to Richmond, by the way. We didn't mention that earlier. Hedrick's going to Richmond.
He's a great high school player.
Now, by the way, a coach told us he thinks he's the best in private ball.
Yeah. Gary, who's in your green room?
I like the 3 choices, but I'm going with Henry Rutledge.
I like Henry
because
we like Henry.
Not only is
wait, you giving him the Heisman right now, or is he in the green room?
He's giving him the Heisman.
Yeah.
Right, I like you giving him
The
that.
Heisman.
Yeah, like he just gave it to him.
He just handled the
And,
trophy.
and here's why. He can affect field position, not only from the running back position, but from the kicking game. You know,
boy, he caught 8 for 84 Friday night. He's pretty good out of the backfield too.
yeah.
He is the fastest player in private school. Period.
Yeah. We believe that.
Ooh, no, put Daniel Houghton from Charlotte Latin out there. I'm telling you,
Period.
Daniel Houghton. You put him out
My
there.
man is DK Metcalf in high school football.
Daniel Houghton.
You didn't see the game against Providence Day when he was shot out of a cannon? You know how on the NFL they show how fast you're going.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
telling
he
you, you just saw Houghton catch for 150 yards. Put them in the race. I'm telling you, Houghton's gonna be right there step by
We'll
step.
probably see that on the high school track. All right, in my Heisman room in the suits, I got my man Russell Tabor. I started out preseason player of the year. I got to stick with him. I got Nickel Fields and I got Henry Rutledge. Those are my three.
That's what I'm saying. That's a great three. We think alike. Dale thinks like other guys. Just they need to clean it up a little bit and think a little harder. But three people got exactly the same.
So I got a
That
question.
doesn't mean you're right. Like, stop with that. That doesn't mean you're right.
Hey,
This is my opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got to know.
Someone else agrees with me. I'm right. No, it doesn't mean that. It means, hey,
so Jerome Harper.
Grice, I just got to get you upset.
Right.
You're more upset today than you've been in a long time, man.
I know, and I actually got a good nap before the show. I thought I'd be a better spirit.
We're in oil. Like Gary tried us like we were like brotherly love.
Right.
Salt everywhere.
Yeah, what are you saying?
So I wanted to ask. So Jerome Harper, you don't think his senior year, you don't think that's a player that would be in your green room? And I'm asking that because Barry really wasn't a dominant team. Or do you remember, or do you know Jerome Harper?
I don't know Jerome Harper.
Hopper.
Hey.
Oh, from Barry. Yes.
That's it, Harper. Hopper.
Yeah.
Hopper went to
Wide receiver. Yeah, he was really
Yeah,
really
wide
good.
receiver, went to Clemson.
He was first team on the All Observer team, but we did not consider him for a Player of the Year award. No, he
Right.
was like first team utility person, I think. But yeah, he was definitely first team. We did not consider him for Player of the Year. And a lot of times we ask the coaches who their choices are for all first team and Player of the Year. And we kind of take that into account, and then we go to the college coaches. And then we talk to recruiters. Sam was a part of that process last year. We were like 4 hours sitting there at Bohawk Billy's. I mean, it takes a good long while, and we try to put a lot of work into it, and still nobody ever agrees with it when we put it out. But it's
So my question was for Grice, really.
yeah. Oh,
Because
okay.
it was not because Barry didn't have dominant teams, but he was a pretty dominant.
I mean, again,
player.
no matter who you throw out there, I could throw out my guy, Julian Gray, at over 1,200 yards, one of the top receivers in the state. I think he's a great player, but do I think he was, do I put him as one of the best? No, I think because we weren't in a situation where, we're affecting the game like that. We're in, he's doing the numbers in big time teams. Like, no, I look at a different guy to be better. I'm consistent.
Yeah, I think what happens though, guys, is that everybody kind of sees their own area, and you start thinking that. And I had this a lot with my basketball guys. This guy's the best in the state, but you hadn't seen Raleigh or Fayetteville or Greensboro. You have no idea, and I can go find some kid in Raleigh that'll run circles around your guy. And I think it's the same in a smaller cocoon for high school football. That I met guys think their guys are the best, the Southwestern guys think their guys are the best, and there may be some guy up in Cleveland County that's better than all of them. And we put out a teams like, how'd you leave my guy off? Well, there's 5 or 6 other guys that are pretty doggone good up the street, but you don't see those guys. And I think, we have a little bit of a broader view because we have to. And I think, that comes into play. But maybe not. The good thing about this year, we're all looking at the same 4 teams. So
Right.
Now, I will agree with Grice on this. If Country Day loses the Christian,
yeah,
and they're done and they're 1-3, then he's not the best.
You're
but
going to drop him now.
If they beat him and then they lose to Providence Day, they went 2-2, and then they're in the championship game, and he still plays the way he's been playing. Then that's, I say yes.
So when are we going to award the high school Heisman before the state championship game or after the state championship game?
I want to, just because it's such a short season, I would say afterwards.
After, okay, we're going to award it after. And do we need to add a defensive award since you guys are talking about defense? Do we need to have a defensive player?
No, we got to.
You know what I think we should? We should add an Iron Man award. What kid that plays both ways?
Well, that's all.
Y'all see that?
That's almost all of them.
Yeah, oh, you
Nine
know,
out of
Number
11.
nine.
Number 9 in green.
Number 9.
56.
me and
Number
Kim
nine,
can watch
56
more than
hurt.
games and
56 hurt.
interviews. He's watched them
Oh,
all.
oh, that kid at Providence Day, though, Jay Brandon Jones of Providence Day, he's a monster. He went and played left tackle last week. He
Yeah.
changed his number from 12 to 53, but man had an interception and played left tackle. And he's pretty good, too.
Mm-hmm.
And JT Smith, a little sophomore Providence Day, he's pretty good playing.
JT
He
Smith's gonna be great.
caught a touchdown, ran a touchdown, had an interception.
Mhm.
Providence Day has a lot of talent. They're just young. They have a lot of
They
talent.
do.
All right, Sam, one shot time.
All right.
Wait a minute. I took him out.
You one shot him out.
There we go.
Shot me out of here. One shot of me out of here. Just one thing I want to say that it made me think about when my daughter came in here and wanted to say something. Don't forget how much love and important it is to talk to your kids, because like you can get frustrated with everybody being home online learning right now. You can get frustrated like, hey, you need to do this. And you're constantly just being negative. But it's very important to show the love, go to the park, do something, get out of the house, and make sure that you're spending quality time with your kids, because once you go back to work full time and they're back to school full time, you're going to wish you had this time back. You're getting everything you're blessed with, and we don't spend enough time. Like at the end of the night, I need to go in the room. If I need to take 15 minutes to pray with them, then we're praying together. It's important, and I just don't think we do that enough right now. We're looking at it like, man, once they go back to school, you say, you're getting stressed out because you see each other so much, but make sure you take care of this quality time.
All right. That's good words from Coach Griner. All right, I know the football game's on. I see the Rams just scored 7-0 over the Bears. So everybody enjoy the game tonight. Enjoy the baseball. We'll see you guys next week. I'm Langston. That's Gary. That's Grice. That's Griner. That's Dale. That's Miss Kinsey, who's the best high school sports reporter I have ever seen in my life. And we'll talk to you guys next Monday night on Talking Preps.
All right.
Yeah.